Okay, in today's conversation, I want to talk about the future of social media in the metaverse and how we might do social media in the future, making it more immersive. And maybe we can touch on the role of NFTs and Web3 and blockchain as well. And to help me with this conversation, I'm joined today by Mark Shannon, who is the CEO and co-founder of Zone. Hi, James.
Hello, how are you, Bernard?
I'm very good, very good. Where are you joining us from today?
I am actually in London today. I am joining you from the infamous Abbey Road Studios, which is in St. John's Woods.
How
It is
lovely.
uh, it is a
Beautiful part
wonderful
of the world.
place. It is.
It is just off Regent's Park. Very nice. Very nice,
Yes.
especially when you have glorious sunshine as we have at the moment.
Glorious sunshine mixed with almost stifling heat, though.
Yes, yeah, I think next week we're gonna hit a big heat wave.
Yes.
Where are you originally from? Because you're you're here for work at the moment. Where are you based?
I'm normally based out of Toronto, Canada, and I grew up in Montreal, Canada. So a Canadian in London currently.
Very good. So you are the CEO and founder of Zone, which is a mobile augmented reality social network that allows users to build and share 3D worlds. And I believe your mission is to become the Web3 equivalent of TikTok today, which is very ambitious. Maybe you can take us through what Zone is, and then we can explore how this might fit into the future of social media and the metaverse as a whole.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. So we've seen a couple trends happening within the Web3 and immersive spaces, as well as in the creator owner market. What's happening currently is that over the last, let's say, 1 to 2 years, many brands, musicians, creators, and fans of all types have attempted to enter what we call the metaverse or Web 3.0. It might be worth, maybe explaining what our vision of the metaverse is before going any further. When we think of the metaverse, we think of immersive environments, either augmented reality or virtual reality, that are integrated with our regular daily lives in such a way that we can easily access them. So a lot of people kind of throw out the metaverse word without necessarily knowing exactly what it means, and that's because many people have different definitions of it. But I think at its most basic level, the metaverse is a virtual environment that's integrated with our daily lives and backed or powered by blockchain technology. This is a very exciting new frontier for human civilization. And the reason I think that that's gotten so much attraction over the last year is that we've become an increasingly digitized society, obviously driven by the events of 2020 and 2021. In order to effectively enter this new digital frontier, the tools that we must use are they have to be user friendly. They have to be easy to use. And unfortunately, what's happened is that technology has moved so quickly that the platforms out there today have been built with blockchain and crypto features first. They are not built in user friendly ways or formats in the same way that you would expect from a traditional Web 2 social media platform like a TikTok or an Instagram. So our goal with Zone is really to reimagine and to rebuild what a Web3 platform can look like. So we're combining very user-friendly interfaces, music activations, and community discovery to make an easy bridge for Web2 users to bring and merge into Web3 environments.
Very interesting. So the metaverse, there are lots of different definitions, and you said it will make it more immersive using augmented and virtual reality. Do you have any good examples of metaverse applications today that are already there that illustrate why being more immersive is actually better?
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe we can go with something that might be familiar for most people, and really the metaverse can be any form of immersive environment that's readily accessible. So maybe we could use an example from an existing social media platform out there today. So it's no secret that Facebook has rebranded to Meta, that Snapchat is experimenting with augmented reality face filters, with change your look and your appearance. um, Augmented reality face filters, or the overlaying of digital information onto your face for use in a social media context, is in many ways a metaverse technology, because it's overlaying digital information onto the physical world. So what a lot of people don't realize is that the metaverse is already here, and it has been for many years. It's just that in the past year, with a move towards digital, and with obviously Facebook rebranding to Meta, it's become center stage.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I'm saying in my books and
Oh, okay.
in my writing. So I've written a book called Extended Reality in Practice, which was
Wow.
literally published a few weeks before the word metaverse blew up. But it is all about the metaverse basically,
Okay. Interesting.
and and how it is going to change society. And for
Yeah.
me, just very simple examples of moving from static websites and social media to more immersive is
Hmm.
are things like living wine labels. I love this, where
Mm.
you can use augmented reality to point your picture onto a wine bottle, and this will
Yeah.
bring it to life and tells you stories around it. Or the way we can now Google dinosaurs and
Yeah.
project them into our rooms or into our gardens and have see them moving around, and we can walk around them. These are all fantastic examples of technology that we all are already using today, that for me is all part of this metaverse movement.
Yeah. No, it's a really fascinating point. For I mean, you talked about some really cool use cases, let's say, of metaverse AR technology. I think the wine label is a great example, because you're effectively scanning a wine label in order to unlock information which can really help you determine either the price or the provenance of the wine. And that's something that wouldn't be possible without the AR, scanning metaversal technology that exists today.
Yeah, and there's this Australian wine brand called 19 Crimes,
Yeah.
and I think you download a little app, you point your phone camera onto the wine, and then actually
Yeah.
the face starts telling a story, which is pretty
Oh,
amazing
really?
on the wine label. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I think I've used a wine label scanner before, and I had this really weird moment where the wine that I was scanning was actually the wine that was illustrated as an example when you downloaded the application. And so I spent way too much time trying to figure out if this was because, like, did they somehow know which wine I was going to scan? It was a California-based wine. It was it was a kind of middle of the pack, but I came to the conclusion that it was just a coincidence, but certainly threw me for a loop.
So today's topic is the future of social media. So give
Hmm.
me your vision of what you think social media will look like in the future.
Absolutely, I'm happy to. So I think it's easiest to really think about social media not as what we call it today, like social and media, but to really think about the drivers around why people engage in social media. And at its most basic level, I think that social media is a way to show the world who we are. It's a way to display our digital identities or our real identities. So just as we used to do in our bedrooms when we were kids, we'd put posters up on the wall. We would show off our latest and greatest collectibles or sports vinyls or Pokemon cards. We always have a place of identity. Personally, when I got older, I moved from my bedroom to a profile page, and that was when social media really took off. Suddenly, the places that mattered to me wasn't necessarily my bedroom, but it was my profile and my feed and what other people saw that I was doing in my life.
Mm.
When I look out now at what's happening in the world, the next generation of people coming online that I don't necessarily that aren't necessarily my age, but maybe they're much younger. the ways that they spend their time is vastly different than the ways that we spent our time. For example, they're going into Fortnite, a massively multiplayer console game, and they're looking at festivals and they're watching artists in these immersive formats. They're going into Roblox and building and creating these worlds. And then I think most importantly, these creators coming online are increasingly earning and transacting in a blockchain economy.
Mm.
So the tools and the ways that they display their identities are going to change from the ways that we did. And the tools that they're going to use are going to have to evolve as well. So at its most kind of fundamental level, if we look at identity across those various use cases, in the bedroom, it was posters and collectibles. In Web2 social media, it was images and real likenesses of who we are. And in Web3 social media, it won't be about who we are as people. It will be about our representations of who we are, our avatars, our digital collectibles, our 3D objects that we've gathered from all of these different worlds that we've visited. And so the tools that we use to display those will need to be about immersion and metaversal and communication. And so the Web3 social media of the future will incorporate all of these elements, but also hark back to what's familiar in Web2 with likes, comments, discovery.
Very good. So how does Zone fit into that vision?
Yeah, and I think what we're doing is, again, I think really taking a look at how we can not only build something that we think is cool, but build something that everyone will think is cool and everyone will think is easy to use.
Mm.
So that's why we're combining the Web2 social platform look and feel. So when you open the Zone application, the first thing you'll think is, wow, this looks a lot like the apps that I'm familiar with. I have a home feed where I can scroll through content. I have the ability to follow people, to like what they do, to comment on them, to build communities. The core difference that we introduce with Zone is that rather than clicking someone's profile and seeing a 2D grid of images and videos, clicking someone's profile enters you into an immersive 3D world that you can explore in augmented reality. The content that you explore and visit and share is not 2D content, but rather 3D immersive worlds that you're recording and sharing through the network.
So why augmented reality rather than virtual reality, where you enter a completely digital space?
Yeah, ease of use and accessibility. I don't think that someone who's on the bus or who's driving a car in the passenger seat, mind you, not actually driving the car, or simply walking around on the street is going to put on an Oculus headset and wish to enter an immersive world. They might do so at home. They might do so when they're alone, but I don't know. I mean, Bernard, I'm sure you've put on a headset before. Personally, when I put one on, I feel kind of scared. Like, what's happening in the world around me? I have no idea. I'm completely immersed in this space. So the reason we want to use AR and specifically on mobile is so that we can not block out the real world, but simply augment it and add to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of the biggest barriers at the moment is that not everyone has a VR headset to enter completely digital worlds, and everyone has mobile phones with AR capabilities. So this is I think a great move. Um, I I believe that in a few years' time, this will change when
Mhm.
I think our main interface to the internet might not be our slate phone or
Mhm.
smartphone, but maybe glasses. Is this something you're expecting to see?
Absolutely, absolutely. They talk about technology curves quite a bit, and how form factors that we use rise in user base and then eventually fall. And there is quite a bit of literature out there that says that the smartphone is actually nearing the end of its technology curve, and the replacement. If you think about what's personally, when I look at technology, and I'd love to know what you think as well, but personally, when I look at technology, I think about why someone would want to adopt it as opposed to the current status quo. And regardless of what it is, it always comes down to convenience. Streaming music players like Spotify is more convenient than buying a CD, for example. The phone was more convenient than picking up a tethered landline because you can move around the world. The replacement to the smartphone will have to be more convenient than having the world live inside of the palm of your hand. And what's more convenient than having the world inside the palm of your hand will be having the world inside of your glasses at all times. And so that future is coming. I think we all know that at one point there will be a product out there that allows us to have the same level of functionality on a cell phone that's in our glasses. It's not there yet, and we're all kind of waiting for the big tech players to release their game-changing technology. But while we wait, I think that it's important for companies like ourselves and for anyone else who's in the immersive space to plant their flags inside of the tech that's currently existing.
Yeah,
So we've,
sorry, go on.
yeah, no, I was almost done. But the way that we're looking at that is that we're partnering with a company called Nreal, which is a consumer AR glasses company based out of China. They're very well established. They've raised about $60 million from Alibaba to build a consumer AR product. And we're integrating our zone worlds into their consumer AR glasses. And the experience will be exploration. It will be visual. But in the future, we hope to build with them into something that's more robust.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I've recently tried the new HTC glasses that are linked
Yeah,
to your phone, and they look much better. They look like
yeah,
sunglasses almost, and I believe that Apple will release blended reality glasses at some point
yes,
that will, I guess, take over as the new interface to the internet, and then they
yeah,
become less scary because you have the option of having augmented reality,
yeah.
virtual reality, blended reality. So in that context, your vision fits into this really well, right?
Yeah, correct. It will be, yeah, I think when you look at, Apple or what they'll be doing hardware really well. That's for sure. They're going to focus on the hardware. They're going to make sure that it works really well. What they're going to struggle to do is to find a use case. That's when that's when glasses will take hold. They're going to look towards who has a problem that these glasses can fix. So some people say it's going to be for the visually impaired. For example, people who need glasses or really have trouble seeing certain elements in their lives. Maybe not just, a pair of regular glasses can help them, but maybe they also need information overlaid. That could be an example. But I think where we fit in as a technology company is we can be a content provider and an experience provider to these companies. So we can provide the worlds, we can provide the social experiences, the music activations, and Apple could look to us as a partner in that respect.
So how do you see Zone competing with the likes of Meta's Horizon, where they're building a virtual social media a
Mm-hmm,
world, and places like Sandbox or
mm-hmm,
Decentraland or Roblox or Fortnite to some extent that are
mm-hmm.
already experimenting and using this sort of technology?
Well, there were quite a few, I think, in there to unpack. So maybe I'll start with Meta first, and maybe some of the larger social media platforms. Meta, TikTok, Instagram, those are the same company, but they will always, because of how those companies are structured, be centralized. They will always focus on building their world to compete with other worlds. It is in their DNA. What we are doing is taking a different approach. We are building with a decentralized focus in mind. So for us, our worlds do not compete with them. We simply work alongside them. And how that works or looks practically is that inside of each zone, our vision is to not only house NFTs, digital collectibles, and products that we make, but also products that other companies make. So, what if you were exploring your zone and you saw the latest Fortnite skin displayed proudly by someone who owns that, or the latest NBA Top Shop, or the latest NFT from your favorite artist? We want to be inclusive and open and focus on decentralization rather than a centralized format that some of the bigger companies are pursuing. In the other vein, looking at Sandbox, Decentraland, for example, Sandbox and Decentraland are absolutely incredible platforms. They have a user base. They've had success selling land. They have music activations. But what they don't have is a mobile interface. And again, I think it comes down to how you're going to capture millions and millions of users into your platform. If I'm on the bus, or again, I always go back to this example, if I'm walking down the street, it's unlikely that I will open my computer and enter into this metaverse. It's more likely that I'll do so through my phone. And that's why we've chosen mobile. There was a couple other companies in there, Bernard, but I can't recall which ones that you brought up.
Roblox, Fortnite.
Correct. Yeah. So Roblox and Fortnite, I'd say, would be a blend of the two. So centralized formats, but again, on a form factor that doesn't allow for mass adoption across mobile devices.
So for anyone who has never heard of Zone, then this is a digital platform, a digital world basically that is organized into different parts, right? Do you want to
Mm-hmm.
explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two main parts of our platform. There is what we call personal zones, and then there are community zones. Personal zones are the next iteration or evolution of a profile page. They are places of identity. They are places which each of our creators own and can modify. They are places which you can visit and invite people in a very safe and personal environment. And that's actually what you see behind me is a personal zone. The community zones are much larger. They are designed to host events, activations, community meetups, and performances. The community zones are where we see our initial user base coming to the platform to interact in. This is part of what we're working on in the music industry, for example. The community zones are built with music in mind, because what we've seen is that in order to incentivize new users to come to a platform, oftentimes the best way to do that is to engage with an artist or musician who has a very engaged fan base. We've seen this with Snoop Dogg. We've seen this with Travis Scott. We've seen this with artists who have experimented in Web3 and have effectively brought their fan bases over. So in our case, we've signed with a major label partnership who will help us create music activations inside Zone, inside of community zones, in order to bring users over to our platform.
So how is your user growth going at the moment?
We're currently in prototype mode, and we have soft launched within our NFT community. So at the moment, we have about 20,000 people who are in our community, and we've gated access to our prototype only to those who have purchased or minted one of our NFTs. And to explain a little bit more about this, our NFTs are the personal zones that you see behind me. Each one of them is unique. We've created 10,000 different versions of these. And to date, we've only released a handful of them to a small group of users so that we can begin testing the platform. So at the moment, we have roughly 1,000 people using Zone, exploring and giving us feedback on how to grow it effectively.
So give me your vision of what these personal 3D spaces might look like. So that you said that they will replace what we have as user profiles today on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. What will be put in them? And you touched on the fact that those zones are NFTs, your personal spaces are NFTs, but I guess NFTs have a much wider role to play in featuring other digital items in your zone, right? So
That's correct.
describe what you envisage this to look like in the future.
Absolutely. So I think if we went far enough in the future, which is the ultimate vision, you would put on a pair of AR glasses and the world around you would evolve into your personal zone. So you'd be in any environment that you're in, any world, any place in the world that you are, and you put on AR glasses, and you're immediately sent into this beautiful 3D world that is yours and yours alone. Inside of that world, again, you can and should be able to feature all of the things that mattered to you, just as we did in our childhood bedrooms. So in an ideal world, we would have gaming integrated. So we'd have Fortnite skins, we'd have popular items and collectibles from other web-based and browser-based and console-based games. We'd have NFTs, which is a no-brainer. I think NFTs are the gateway to the metaverse and must be included. We would also have proof of attendance of immersive events. So it's really important for people to know that you've attended a specific event, you've attended a specific community, and to have some type of visual representation of that event. On the usability side, I think what we're working towards in the vision is to have these places, these zones, not only as places of display and showcase, but also as active spaces that you can use to socialize with others. So imagine having 5 to 10 of your closest friends exploring as avatars and interacting with social features like chat and voice inside of each personal zone.
Very good. And then you touched on NFT. So do you want to explain the role of NFTs in all of this, and where you see this going in the future?
Absolutely.
And maybe to start with, explain where you see NFTs today. So maybe a basic explanation of what they are and where they might be going.
Sure. So an NFT today, well, not today, but an NFT is a non-fungible token. And so the easiest way that I can explain an NFT in something in a way that my parents might understand is that it unlocks a market for creators that would not otherwise be available without this technology. The way that it does that is by introducing scarcity into a digital environment for goods and digital assets that wouldn't otherwise be scarce. So for example, if you go on Google Images and you search up and you search surfboard and you find a picture of a surfboard, you can right click and copy that image of a surfboard to your desktop, and you effectively own that image. That's the world we've grown up in. That's what we all understand from the internet, and that's how we've been conditioned. But in reality, the same way that you can have a limited edition supply of physical sneakers, you should be able to have a limited edition supply of digital goods. And before NFT technology, we weren't able to do that. We weren't able to prove that a digital good was scarce. What an NFT does is it attaches a token that is minted on the blockchain and stored on one of several networks that is currently out there in the market. Networks being Ethereum, Polygon, Solana, Matic. Regardless of the network, the token is irrefutably unique, and that's made unique and possible by blockchain technology. What we're using today is we're attaching NFT tokens to digital artwork as a way of making them scarce and unique. Creators who build these pieces of artwork, or really anything, can attach an NFT to it, and in doing so, they create a one-of-one version of that piece of digital art. They can then sell it for far more money and compensation than they would be able to in a normal environment or in a normal setting. The second part of your question, I believe, was where is it going, or how does it evolve?
Yeah.
Sure. So if we think about this and we project into the future a little bit, what NFTs do is they give power back to the creators of the original piece of artwork. So an NFT in itself is proving scarcity. But if we have an entire network of NFTs, we can enable independent creators to build artwork, to unlock a market, and then to earn off of those creations in ways that they wouldn't have been able to before. So what NFTs do is they really are creating an entire market, but a market that will not be taken or interfered with by large corporations or middlemen. we're creating a value chain between a creator and the end user that won't be interrupted ever in the future.
Yeah, this is the promise of this is super fascinating.
Mhm.
What do you think are the current challenges when it comes to the technology? Because there are lots of different competing blockchains out there. There are obviously lots of competing metaverse platforms out there.
Mhm.
Um, what challenges do we need to overcome to really make this mainstream?
Usability, user interfaces. It's it all of the I mean, not all, but most of the platforms out there that have been built for Web 3.0 have led with blockchain functionality first. They make it a central piece of their platform. And oftentimes they gate access to their platform with that technology. For all but the 1% of us out there that are in this market, that understand it, that use it, gating access to a platform with a piece of technology that's very difficult to understand is not a winning solution. You have to open it and make it easy for people to use because that's what we're used to. We're used to going to an app store and downloading an app and being up and running in a matter of 15 seconds. And if we don't do that, our attention spans are goldfish level. We will just delete the application and never use it again. So the challenge right now is that this market was unlocked last year. It grew, it blew up because of the way that the world was shaping up. People entered this market and attempted to make millions off of off of the boom of cryptocurrencies last year. What they didn't do was build platforms that had users in mind first. And so now what we're seeing is people step back and think, okay, now that maybe the market's cooled off a little bit, how can we actually build platforms that will stand the test of time and business models that will be effective towards onboarding many more users into Web 3.0.
Very true. You mentioned earlier that music is an important component of your vision of what Zone might be like in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go into this? Why do you think music is important? And is it just music events, or will music play a wider role in your personal zones as well?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think there's two components to that. The first is, I think what I mentioned before is that music has always and will always be a tool that people get excited about. It's something that it evokes emotion, it evokes passion, it evokes people, it provokes people to do crazy things like downloading a new application or a new platform and entering inside of it. So I think on the one hand, music is important to Web 3.0 because it will help encourage people to come into this market, to drop what they're doing and to come see a performance for their favorite musician because they might miss out if they don't. So on the one hand, I think music is incredibly important to bring people into this market. On the other hand, I think music is a core piece of our identity just because of the same reasons. It evokes emotion, passion. It is a way people identify themselves. And so in our worlds, when you think about a zone being a place of identity, music is a natural component to that. So music to us comes in two shapes and sizes. On the one hand, it's events and performances so that we can bring people in. And on the other hand, it's maybe a streamed music player inside of the zone where you can pick your favorite track and use that to soundtrack your environment.
I recently saw an interesting bit of research that was suggesting that in the Web3 world, people will value ownership much more. So, for example, ownership of
Mm-hmm.
music. That at the moment we have streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music, and people are happy just to subscribe to a streaming service and get whatever piece of music they want all the time. The research was suggesting that in the future this might change, that you want to own a piece of music and maybe showcase it in your digital world. Is this something
Mm-hmm.
that you see happening?
I do. I think that the possibilities around combining NFTs and music are very exciting. So thinking about the creator who's building today, he's building artwork and using NFTs to monetize that artwork in ways they haven't before. The same can apply to any type of creative industry that struggles to create revenue from their pieces of art. And music is one of those industries. So the stream, for example, the amount that an artist gets paid off of a stream on Spotify is a fraction of a percent, or a fraction of a cent, excuse me. So it's no brainer that in order to increase their revenue, they're very interested in new types of technology. So, for example, owning the rights to your song and releasing it as an NFT in order to unlock far more revenue streams than you could by releasing it on a Spotify is something that we're starting to see happen much more. The
Mm.
other use case, I think, is that it's typically very expensive to record and release a record or a song. And so we're seeing a lot of artists who are turning to NFTs as a way of fractionalizing ownership in their recording. So, for example, I'm an artist. I can go to a community of people and say that for an investment of $15 or $20, you can have a fractional ownership in this record, and you will receive royalties off the stream of that record for life if you contribute to the development of this record in the initial phases.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So one of the concerns I have whenever I talk about Web3 technology is the environmental impact, because we are using
Mm-hmm.
blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is super power hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and given that the biggest challenge we are facing as the world now is to make our world more sustainable and address things like climate change, what's your
Mm-hmm.
view on that? Do you feel confident that this can be addressed in the future with new technology?
100%. This is a this is an incredibly new technology that's been introduced to the world. There is no doubt that this is problematic, that it is energy intensive, and that's only because people have not started using this at scale. What we're seeing happening behind the scenes, kind of in the market, is an entire movement towards reshaping how blockchain technology works in order to make it more energy efficient. So, for example, there's an event occurring on the Ethereum network later this summer called the Merge, which will create a separate mechanism for analyzing blockchain transactions, which is a much more effective energy usage than the current model. We also see a vast network of what they call side chains, which use, again, different ways of analyzing transactions, which are much more energy effective than the main networks that we've grown accustomed to and that are in the news. So yes, I think we're moving in that direction. The entire industry knows that this is an issue and must design solutions for it.
Very good. Finally, what are your hopes and predictions for the future? If you think about the future of social media in the
Mm-hmm.
metaverse, the future of the metaverse,
Mm-hmm.
what do you see happening? Or what would you like to see happening?
I think what will happen is that as a society, uh, as we move forward, we will increasingly move towards a world where users of platforms, where individuals will have a larger say in the activities um, and actions of large organizations. So we will move towards a more decentralized society rather than something that is incredibly central, like a Meta or a TikTok. I think that going all the way towards decentralization, which is what some people believe in Web 3.0, will not work, because I don't think that as humans we're ready to completely forego authority and leadership. I think you have to have that in order to make decisions and to move forward. But I do think that we're going to go more down the road of independent creators having more power and control over the actions of a company.
Very good. Thank you so much, James, for your time today. That was fascinating. I could talk about this topic for forever, really. Um,
Yes.
and anyone who ever wants to re-listen to this conversation, head to my YouTube channel where you can find this as well as hundreds of other super exciting conversations about the future of business and technology. So thank you very much.
Thank you.